Hello, how is everyone doing? It is your fallen angel back with another video. Today, we are going over the concept of how to study the Kabbalah. So feel free to check out the full playlist on the Kabbalah fully explained. Every aspect is being touched upon. We are still continuing our series on Kabbalah and the Kabbalah Unveiled. Today is how to study Kabbalah. So before we get started, like and subscribe. Also, check us out on Patreon, Rumble, Twitter, Instagram, things of that nature. And without further ado, guys, let's just jump right in. So, several hundred years ago, it was impossible to find Kabbalah books or books on this subject. Kabbalah was transmitted solely from one Kabbalist to another, or in other words, from ear to ear, never reaching the ordinary person. Today, the situation is reversed. There is a desire to circulate the material among all, and to call everyone to participate in this study. When studying these books, the desire for spirituality grows, whereby the light surrounding us, the real world hidden from us, starts to reflect on those people who wish to be closer to the special charm of spirituality, and they start to desire it even more. So guys, back in the time period of Ari, and even before then, the Kabbalah books were getting burned because there was a need to keep this sacred, a need to keep this in a word of mouth. So there was a reason why they'd only spread it from ear to ear, and they had to burn books back in the past, right? Not until they finally found this amalgamation of papers being used at a merchant shop where they had to eventually put it all together. And since that point, they've been circulating books. Kabbalists prohibited the study of Kabbalah by people who had not been prepared for it, unless they did under the special circumstances. They treated their students cautiously to ensure they studied in proper manner. They limited students by certain criteria. Now guys, even though it's being circulated now in a much higher degree, thanks to all the rabbis that came, right? There has to be a certain level of understanding. There has to be a certain level of understanding that you can't just get into this and understand that, oh, this is just going to propel me to the next level and I'll get all the answers I want and there won't be any suffering. That's not how life works, right? In life, there will be a duality. There is love, there's passion, there's hate, there's negativity, there's scorn, right? There's a suffering process in this, and you will have to get over the hump of these 7 deadly sins. So there's a reason why they want you to be prepared prior to getting to something like this. There's a reason why this isn't just something that's forced upon you. This is something people seek out because they want to further their spiritual growth. They want to further the light body that's outside of them. Baal al-Sulayman describes these reasons at the beginning of his introduction to the study of the 10 Sifarat. However, if we understand these restrictions as conditions for the proper comprehension of Kabbalah, we will see that they are intended as a way to prevent students from deviating from the correct way. What has changed is that we now have more of a language, better conditions, and a stronger determination to study Kabbalah. Because souls feel the need to study Kabbalah, Kabbalists such as Baal HaSulam have written commentaries that enable us to study free of errors. Everyone now can learn Kabbalah through his books. So guys, it was hundreds of years back, it was difficult to get a full understanding on how this Kabbalah book works or how the Kabbalah works in general. Through his commentaries, now we have a much better understanding on where to go, how the paths lead, the judgment, the wisdom, the Malkut, all these are intertwined in how it is all a process through the light body, whether it be the 7 chakras, the planets within. It has to be understood through this understanding. So Baal HaSulam, he's a great prominent figure in the books that we use to this day. To study Kabbalah in the proper way, it is recommended that to student focus solely on the writings of the original Ari, Baal HaSulam, and the Rabash in the original versions. So we have the pictures of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Isaac Luria, the Ari, Yehuda Ashlag Bar HaSulam, Baruch Ashlag the Rabash, and Rav Michael Laitman. So guys, any of the original books from any of these individuals, the original Kabbalist, the 3 generations of the original Kabbalist, will give you a better, deeper understanding of the Kabbalah and how it's intertwined with the light body. The primary objective of Kabbalah is to achieve spirituality. One thing is necessary: proper instruction. If a person studies Kabbalah in the right way, he progresses without forcing himself. There can be no coercion in spirituality. So guys, this is a very, very big concept here. We have to understand that the Kabbalah is never forced on anyone. It cannot be forced on anyone. It's a process in which you have to come to terms with it. You have to throw away the material desire, these animalistic desires. We spoke about this in the video of triune brain. Many people operate off this reptile brain and the limbic system brain, the horse brain. The neocortex has to desire something outside the physical realm. It has to desire something outside the physical plane. It has to desire what the astral body wants, the light body wants, to understand that there's a deeper meaning beyond this physical plane. So that is the primary objective of the Kabbalah when it comes to seeking spirituality. You have to study the Kabbalah in the right way. You cannot force progress, and you cannot be coerced into spirituality ever. Because this is a soulful journey within yourself. The kingdom of heaven is within. The 10 trees of life is within. The aim of the study is for a person to discover the connection between himself and what is written in the book. This should always be borne in mind. That is the reason Kabbalists wrote down what they experienced and achieved. It is not in order to acquire knowledge of how reality is built and functions as in science. The intention of the Kabbalah text is to create an understanding and an assimilation of its spiritual truth. So guys, it's not some kind of theory. It's not the law of gravity. It's not some equation that you're looking for. It's not some final destination that you imagine in your head and you're saying, well, I should imitate this same theory. This is not what Kabbalists are trying to write down or trying to give you. The assimilation process of this is to understand that this will be a spiritual journey for yourself. So everything will be nuanced depending on yourself. This is why we study why we're here. We study the nuances why our parents did what they did. We understand the synchronicities in our own lifetime to avoid doing intrinsically. Before the reincarnation, we have to figure out what it is we have to come to terms with, what it is the spiritual body wants. We have to come to terms with this. If a person approaches the text in order to gain spirituality, the text becomes a source of light and corrects him. If he approaches the text in order to gain wisdom, it is for him mere wisdom. The measure of inner demand is what determines the measure of strength he gleans and the pace of his correction. So guys, your level of desire to learn more about the spiritual body, the etheric body, the mental body, the astral body, the catheric body, when you want to learn more about these planes of reality, planes in the astral plane beyond the physical plane, you will get these corrections. The source of light will correct you naturally. Whether this be you seeing things over and over again till you finally figure it out. Life happens in a Fibonacci loop. It happens in this circular-like motion. Look at the thumb, the index of your thumb. This is a Fibonacci loop. Your life will be a Fibonacci loop. You will go through things. You will go back to revisit things because there has to be a correction to be done in this lifetime. Whether this be seeing people, seeing events that you did onto others. These events keep circulating until you realize what the light body desires. That means that if a person studies in the proper manner, he crosses the barrier between the world and the spiritual world, also known as the astral plane or the etheric plane, the atmic plane, the celestial body. He enters a place of inner revelation and reaches the light. That is known as the beautiful sign. If he does not achieve this, it is a sign that he has been negligent in the quality or quantity of his efforts. He did not make a sufficient effort. So, when we talk about this effort, it's not just saying you're removing these animalistic desires. It's to understand that everything in this mini universe that you have, depending on the person, everyone has their own mini universe, their microcosm within this macrocosm, your connection between you and the creator, your effort should be more immense. Your effort should display itself, not just by you sacrificing and saying, well, I'm going to not only starve myself, I'm going to run away from desires, I'm going to run away from my humanly lusts, I'm going to run away from these things. This is not what Kabbalah wants you to do. Kabbalah understands that we are not perfect beings. They understand, the creator understands we are not perfect beings. So there will always be nuance in your story. There will be nuance in your journey because you've been reincarnated to figure out what it is that you're supposed to come to terms with. It is the effort that matters on the light plane, the light body. It is the effort that has to come through with it. It is not a question of how much he studied, but a question of how focused he was on his intentions, or if he lacked something. However, if he reaches this desire to correct himself, he can attain spirituality. Only then will the heavens open for him to allow his entry into another world, another reality, another dimension. He reaches this stage by studying Kabbalah in the correct manner. So, it's about correction in this lifetime. You are here to learn. Everything in this cosmos is a learning process. You are here to learn from your mistakes. This is not to say you have to be some sort of saint, perfection, every single aspect. That is not the truth. That is not the truth at all. You are here to learn and to correct. Because if we were already perfect beings born without sin, there would be no purpose in this cosmos. Therefore, it is essential to correct these things so you could attain the spirituality, so you could open the gates of heaven within. It is from within, the 10 spheres, even the 7 spheres. Embracing Kabbalah does not work by merely avoiding nice things so that one's desires will not be kindled. Correction does not come from self-punishment, but rather as a result of spiritual achievement. When a person achieves spiritually, the light appears and corrects him. Guys, we just mentioned this. Running away from your desires does not necessarily mean you will be a spiritual being. This just means you are attempting to do what you would perceive to be the right thing, without truly understanding the correction for why, right? We have to understand why we did these things. We have to learn as to why we shouldn't be doing these things. We have to learn as to why the physical plane will dissipate at some point. We will all come to dust at some point. Our soul, the pineal gland, is eternal, right? The stars above, these are all entities. This is eternal. We have to learn what this light is, what this light beyond this physical plane is. The aura sphere that we have, we are electromagnetic beings. Therefore, we have a sphere of aura, a sphere of electromagnetivity around us. So it comes to this ideology, not to run from your desires, but to learn why these desires arrive in the first place, but to learn how these desires make you who you are, and how to learn not just to avoid it, but correction. This lifetime, the Creator does not believe in punishing us. He believes in growth and correction, right? Everyone has the opportunity to correct things. This ideology that we have to be perfect beings is to say a mockery of the Creator who made non-perfect beings, beings made out of sin. It is about spiritual achievement and correction. You have to come to terms with things, whether this be anger, greed, lust, ego, whatever it is. So mote it be. Maybe it was such a big thing at the beginning, But at some point, you have to learn from it. And not just say, yes, I acknowledge my issues. I acknowledge and I'll continue to do what I do. But to realize this Fibonacci loop, realize the loop in your life, the things you saw as a child, resurfacing as when you were a parent, resurfacing when you're a grandparent, resurfacing these memories. Your hippocampus is this connection between the spiritual world of past, present, and future. This is the only way a person changes. Any other way is hypocritical. He is mistaken if he believes that putting on a nice appearance he will achieve spirituality. This is mumbo jumbo. Inner correction will not follow, since only the light can correct. The purpose of studying is to invite the light that corrects one. Therefore, a person should work on himself only for that purpose from within. Like we mentioned, guys, putting on this facade of a saint is hypocritical. Putting on this facade that you're better than others is hypocritical. Putting on this showmanship to be perceived by others is also hypocritical. This journey within the Kabbalah is not a beautiful journey. It's a dangerous journey as well. It's a suffering journey as well. It is a immense journey as well. It's an empathetic journey. It's a gorgeous journey. It has dual parts. We look at the Kabbalah tree. It has its dual parts of feminine and masculine, negative and positive. So this whole light theory has to be understood that this is a correction lifetime. You have your entire lifetime to perceive, experience, and understand what's going on in this cosmos. For some, it may take time. For some, it may be instant, like the great Ari, who was beginning these teachings at such a young age. It may happen for someone at a young age. It may happen for someone who's at 50. Maybe if they become mature enough. And if they don't, guess what? They will be reincarnated with these same issues at hand until they finally seek out what the Kabbalah truly means. This is not to say that the people who do not have access to Kabbalah cannot receive this light body or not be entrance into the kingdom within. This is to say that the Kabbalah makes it easier for you to find your purpose, to find the judgment, to find what is really the inner workings within this cosmos. If there is any pressure or any obligatory rules or regulations, it is a sign that is man-made, and it is not an action intended by the upper worlds. In addition, inner harmony and tranquility are not prerequisites for attaining spirituality. They will appear as a result of the correction. But a person should not believe this can happen without an effort on his part. Guys, we'll reread this one more time. If there is any pressure or any obligatory rules or regulations, it is a sign that it is man-made, and it is not an action intended by the upper worlds. The upper worlds that we know, the dimensions above, 10, 11, 12, that is godlike, they do not want to put any regulations on us. Any regulations of control or forced and coercion within any of these religions, Abrahamic religions, it is an action man-made. It is a man-made to keep control over a certain group of people, to indoctrinate a certain group of people. The Kabbalah is not an indoctrination. The Kabbalah is not a coercion. The Kabbalah is about you finding inner tranquility that arises, finally, for attaining this spirituality. This harmony and tranquility only comes once you come to terms with yourself. You no longer fight this ego. You come to terms with who you really are. The effort has to come from within. It does not come from, like we said, this removal of pleasures, this removal of your desires. No, we are not perfect beings on this cosmos. We are all capable of sin. Man, woman, child. We are all capable of negative acts. We're all capable of positive acts. But the effort from within is what will bring you to this spirituality. The upper worlds would never force you to do something that is rule-based or regulation-based. Anything of that nature is not what the Kabbalah is. The Kabbalah is a spiritual journey made for you and the Creator. To realize why you're here, not just to realize why you're here, but to understand the Fibonacci loop of things you see in your cosmos, to understand this without a nihilistic worldview, to understand the experience, to understand the suffering, to understand the passionate moments as well. The Kabbalah way absolutely rejects any form of coercion. It grants a person an inkling of spirituality, bringing him to prefer it to materialism. Then, in relation to his spirituality, he clarifies his desire. Accordingly, he retreats from material things, as his attraction to or necessity for them disappears. So, naturally, once you are spiritually intact, you no longer crave these things. Your desire for them slowly dissipates as well. As we just said, the physical body will at some point dissipate. When we are spiritually attuned with our spheres, spiritually attuned with our 7 chakras, spiritually attuned with the light body, these material things, these things in the physical plane, naturally disappear. It naturally goes away. The light body seeks for what it really seeks from within. The heart and soul seek something much deeper within the upper worlds. Studying Kabbalah incorrectly, even with the best intentions, can distance a person from spirituality. This type of student will only fail. So it is essential that we study the Kabbalah correctly. Among the languages of the study of spiritual worlds between the Bible, which includes the 5 books of Moses, the prophets and the scriptures, and Kabbalah, the latter is the most useful and direct. Those who learn it cannot err in their understanding. It does not use names from this world, but possesses a special dictionary, directly indicating the spiritual tools for spiritual objects and forces, and the correlation between them. The special dictionary directly indicating the spiritual tools for spiritual objects and forces, and the correlation between them. We have to understand everything is interwoven, interconnected within this cosmos. Within this study, you will learn how things are connected, not just how man made things or how man was made, but just to understand we are having a human experience for the first time. Well, it may seem as the first time. For some, it may be a plethora of lives, amalgamated now into one. We must think about these things while understanding spirituality. It is therefore the most useful language for the student to make inner progress and to correct himself or herself. If we study the writings of Baal HaSulam, there is no danger of becoming confused. Because with his study and his interpretations, he explains how this really goes. He explains how the experience will manifest. It is all about the effort. The spiritual and light body understands effort. It understands correction, the harmony, and the spirituality that comes with it, all derive from this correction and acceptance. It is accepting the ego. It is accepting the character flaw. It is accepting the humanistic desire, but understanding that the spiritual realm is much more deeper than the physical plane. Spirituality can be obtained by studying the right books. Books written by a true Kabbalist. The Bible's texts are Kabbalah texts. They are books Kabbalists wrote to one another to exchange ideas and to assist each other in learning. A person whose spiritual feelings have grown can see how these books assist him in continuing his growth and development. It is like being led by a tour guide in a foreign country. With the aid of the guidebook, the traveler becomes oriented and better understands his new whereabouts. That's why these books are essential, guys. These books will help you learn the process much better. It will help you lead you to the right path easier, right? Understanding these paths, the judgment, the wisdom, the understanding that comes with it. We need books that are suited to our souls, books by the Kabbalists of our generation, or the previous ones such as Ari, since different souls descend in each generation and require different teaching methods. So if you watched our previous video on the Kabbalah, We explained how each generation had their fundamental Kabbalist who taught, and each generation had its perfect timing. The synchronicities lined up perfectly. A student in search of a Kabbalah teacher must do so with care. There are so-called Kabbalists who teach incorrectly. For example, it is sometimes claimed that wherever the word body is written, it refers to our physical body, that the right hand symbolizes charity and the left bravery. This is exactly the strict prohibition rendered by the Bible and the Kabbalist in "Thou shalt not make a sculpture or a picture." Why are those who teach and interpret this way? First of all, they themselves do not comprehend the Kabbalistic language of branches. If there were a direct connection between spiritual forces and our physical bodies, it would have been possible to teach people to succeed in life and secure the body by physical means under the guise of spirituality. Therefore, guys, this explains duality. This in life always will explain duality. The Kabbalah is a guide, a tour guide, in essence, to spirituality. You still have to put the inner work to open this kingdom of heaven. You have to put the effort because, like we explained, everyone's mini universe is different from the other. So it is essential to learn your nuance, to watch this Fibonacci loop of your life. The things that transpire, the things you've seen. Why is it happening? Why do you go through the suffering you did? You must learn it from your own lens because your perspective is within your own lens. Not the lens of Ari, not the lens of Yashuda, not the lens of Baal HaSulam. This is your own lens. These men are great Kabbalists who will teach you how to find your lens. It is important to join the right study group in which to explore the writings of a real Kabbalist. This should be done under the guidance of a Kabbalist. Now guys, it is a good idea to join a study group because not only will you learn with others, but you will be guided as well. Not to say that you can't do this in a soul lone journey. It is definitely possible to do this in a lone journey. But to avoid confusion, it is essential, or it would be better to do this under guidance. The group provides strength. Everybody has at least a small desire for materialism, or even much larger than others, and an even smaller desire for spiritualism. The way to augment the will for spiritualism is through joint desire. Several students together stimulate, or makif, the surrounding light. Although the physical body separates people, it does not affect spiritualism, since in spiritualism, the point of the heart is shared by all, resulting in a much greater result. So, if you are working in a group, it will help. It will help not only watching others do it, because this understanding also applies in the physical realm. Let's just talk in the physical realm for a second. It's this understanding of monkey see, monkey do. You will be impacted by the people you are around. That is essential. You will be the summation of the people you hang around, right? This goes for any grouping, whether this be you're around successful people, you're around people that gossip. You will be the accumulation of that group. If you're the fourth friend, you will be within whatever that group is. So it is essential, if you do have a group, that you all share the same desire for spiritual awakening. This will create its surrounding light within the physical body. All of the Kabbalists studied in groups. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai held a group for students, and so did the Ari. A group is vital in order to progress. It is the primary tool of Kabbalah, and everyone is measured by his contribution to the group. It is essential to receive from a true Kabbalist who himself studied under the guidance of a Kabbalist. A group does not eliminate the need for a Kabbalist. It is impossible without a Kabbalist, since it is he who directs the group. The text and the Kabbalist help the student so that he does not deviate from the correct way of studying. He works on himself and the inner being. No one knows the other's place in the group, nor his level of spirituality. The books, the group, and the Kabbalist simply help him to stay on course and increase his will for spirituality, instead of following others' desires or worthless endeavors. To help students avoid failure, a list of questions and answers and an index of words and expressions is provided. During study sessions, attention is drawn to spiritual truth, not to depth or measure of comprehension. What is important is that the student is motivated to make spiritual progress and not merely to advance intellectually. So guys, what we have to understand is everyone's journey is different. Like we already mentioned, even though you may be in a group, you may not be at the same level as someone else in your group. Someone else may be much further because they did the inner work. It's all about the inner work, the acceptance and the correction that comes with it. So everyone will be at their own progress point, whether this be 10%, 20%, 60%, 80%. Everyone will be different. It is not about who can get there the fastest. It's not a race. It's a marathon. Everyone's running their own race. It's a marathon. It's not a race. It is true that people are attracted to the wisdom of Kabbalah in the hope of becoming more successful. We are all made of the desire to receive pleasure. This is the limbic system in play within the triune brain. It is our basic makeup, but with proper instruction, some of us attain spirituality and eternity. Others, without the proper instruction, live under the illusion that they have achieved something spiritual. In fact, they lose their chance of attaining spirituality in this lifetime by doing so. So, we already mentioned, guys, it is possible to learn without a group. It's possible to awaken this kingdom of heaven within without a group or even a teacher. But it comes with this correction process. So it is essential. If you need the assistance, you seek the assistance out, because it will not only help you, but it will help you from leading astray into confusion. So this was a video, guys, on how to study Kabbalah. Feel free to check out our other videos on the Kabbalah as well. Check us out on Patreon, Rumble, Twitter, Instagram, things of that nature. Like and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below. I'd love to read them. Other than that, guys, this has been your fallen angel, and I am out.